The cafe was unusually quiet that morning, the kind of silence that feels heavy, like something is about to happen. Rachel Carter, one of the youngest self-made CEOs in the city, sat at a corner table reviewing contracts on her laptop. Her sharp mind and relentless drive had built an empire from nothing, but her journey wasn't without scars. Behind the flawless business suits and confident speeches was a woman who knew the sting of betrayal, failure, and being underestimated simply because she was a woman in a male-dominated world. Sitting 2 tables away was Jack Thompson. His rugged features and calm demeanor made him blend into the background, but if anyone looked closely, they would notice the quiet intensity in his eyes. Jack was a single father, raising his little girl alone after losing his wife to cancer. What no one in that cafe knew, not even Rachel, was that Jack wasn't just another man trying to rebuild his life. He was a Navy SEAL, a veteran of countless missions, carrying invisible battle scars that only a few could understand. The morning peace shattered when a group of men walked in. They weren't ordinary customers. Their voices were too loud, their laughter too cruel. They were investors Rachel had refused to work with weeks ago, men who thought money gave them the right to intimidate anyone who stood in their way. Spotting her at the corner table, they smirked. Well, if it isn't the Ice Queen herself," one of them sneered, slamming his hand down on her table. Her coffee cup rattled. "Thought you could humiliate us by turning down our deal, didn't you?" Rachel didn't flinch. She'd faced worse in boardrooms. But when another grabbed her wrist tightly, twisting it just enough to hurt, she felt her heart pound. She wasn't scared for herself, she had dealt with harassment before, but she feared how quickly things could escalate. Jack watched silently, his jaw tightening. He had promised himself he wouldn't get involved in fights anymore. His little girl needed him alive, not locked up or dragged into headlines. But when he saw Rachel wince in pain and the men circling her like predators, something inside him snapped. "Let her go," Jack said, his voice calm but carrying the weight of a command. The men turned, sizing him up. A single dad in worn jeans and a plain t-shirt didn't look like a threat. One of them laughed. "And what are you gonna do, hero? Go back to babysitting?" Jack stood slowly, pushing his chair back. The cafe went dead silent, customers frozen with fear. His eyes were steady, his stance unshaken. He didn't raise his voice, didn't posture, he didn't need to. Years of combat had carved a presence in him that no bully could ever match. The first man swung a punch. Jack moved so fast it was almost a blur. With a single strike, the man was on the ground, gasping for air. The others lunged, but Jack flowed like water, every movement precise and devastating. Chairs crashed, tables splintered, but Jack was untouched. The cafe smelled faintly of roasted beans and fresh pastries, the kind of aroma that usually made people feel safe. But on that particular morning, safety was an illusion. Rachel Carter, dressed in a crisp navy suit, sat near the window with her laptop open, scanning through the latest quarterly reports. She wasn't just any businesswoman, she was a CEO who had clawed her way up from nothing. Raised by a single mother in a small town, she had faced poverty, ridicule, and countless closed doors before she finally built her company. But despite all her success, Rachel was constantly fighting another battle, the perception that she was too young, too female, or too emotional to be taken seriously in the ruthless corporate world. Just a few tables away, Jack Thompson sat quietly with a simple black coffee. His daughter was at school, leaving him a rare moment to himself. His clothes were plain, faded jeans, a t-shirt, and boots, but his posture said more than appearances could. He sat like someone trained never to let his guard down. In another life, he had been a Navy SEAL, leading missions in places most people couldn't point to on a map. But now, he was just a dad to a little girl who was his entire world. After losing his wife to cancer 3 years earlier, Jack carried grief in his chest like a stone he could never set down. He noticed Rachel immediately. Not because she was beautiful, though she was, but because of the sharp determination in her eyes. It was the look of someone who had been underestimated one too many times. Jack recognized it because he saw that same fire in himself every morning in the mirror. The cafe door swung open. A group of men walked in, loud and arrogant. Their expensive suits and gold watches screamed money, but their sneering expressions betrayed entitlement. Jack recognized the type instantly, men who had never been told no in their lives. Rachel's jaw tightened the moment she saw them. These were the investors she had rejected weeks ago. They had wanted to pour money into her company, but in exchange, they demanded controlling rights. She had refused, unwilling to let anyone strip away the values she had built her business upon. She thought that was the end of it. Clearly, she was wrong. They spotted her quickly and moved like wolves cornering prey. One leaned down over her laptop, slamming it shut with a grin. "Still think you're better than us, sweetheart," he sneered. Another grabbed the chair beside her, sitting down uninvited. "You embarrassed us. That was a mistake." Rachel sat up straighter, hiding the unease in her chest. "I don't do business with bullies," she said firmly. The men laughed, but there was no humor in it. One reached out, gripping her wrist hard enough to make her wince. "You'll learn soon enough. Women like you don't last long without protection." Jack had been trying to ignore it, telling himself it wasn't his fight. But when he saw Rachel's wrist twisted, when he saw the fear she tr.